Welcome back, my name is Tara Bradbury and today we're going to be covering in our June edition the 3 types of clients that you could potentially meet at your next listing appointment. So as you know, in our last session, we covered some different points of how to handle the leads when they're coming into the business and making sure that we're asking some really good, strong questions in the very beginning to set us up for that listing appointment. Finding out things about, who the decision maker is, when they're getting ready to rent the property, what some of their expectations are. So that way when we're sitting down in front of them, if we get the opportunity to do that we can still continue to have some really good open conversations. Now, normally what you will find is there can be many, there can be even up to 10 different types of clients that you can meet. But today, because we've got such a short session that we're working with, I'm going to focus on the concerned, the conceived client, and also the complacent client as well. So what you'll find is when you're talking about the complacent client, they are the ones that tend to be the type of landlord that they will come into your business, they're quite casual, very laid back, they know the importance of having somebody manage the property and hence why you're in charge of that role for them. Sometimes the problem with the complacent client is that they can tend to really focus a bit more on just how it has to be and also at the pace of it'll be done, she'll be right, mate, we'll give them some time. They're probably a really good example of somebody who will, when their tenant's in rent arrears, they'll just say, oh, we'll just give them another week and hopefully they'll catch up and pay the rent next week. And as we all know, it never really happens. So they are the type of ones that you've really got to be on your A game, make sure you've got lots of notes with the conversations that you've had. And you'll also find that sometimes they take a little bit more time to actually get them to sign the agreement. They will say to you at the meeting, yes, we love what you have to offer, Tara, you're fantastic. We know we want to move forward with yourself and the agency and we'll get that paperwork back to you tomorrow. And then you never hear from them. You've always got to kind of follow them up and catch them. The next one that I'm wanting to talk to you about is the concerned. So these are the type of clients that they are going to be the ones that you'll find have a lot of fears, mainly due to a previous experience that they've had, or it could be a previous experience that somebody else has had. And that can be very, very concerning for them. They won't necessarily be as upfront and honest with, the type of questions that they're in need to have answered during this time. So you've got to ask them a lot of questions to find out what these fears and concerns are and make sure that they're answered at listing appointment, because if you don't answer their questions, they won't want to do business with you and they won't tell you why. So it's very important to make sure that you are very thorough with this type of personality, because you will see when it comes to the stage of going through the contract with them that they'll have a very closed door and say, yes, we'll call you, I'll get back to you. And they'll tend to be very standoffish. The last one that we're going to be talking about is the convinced. The convinced client is the one that generally you've made direct contact with them. So they might be a private investor, or they might be someone that was a hot prospect that the sales team referred to that you've gone and had a conversation with. So they tend to have their own ideas and they tend to think that they know everything as well, and also be a jack of all trades. Normally that kind of, tradie mentality, mindset, or someone that manages their own property that thinks it's quite easy, I can do it myself, and don't understand all the risks and that are associated with managing an investment property as well. So with the ones that are convinced, be very careful that when you're picking up on key points of concerns, or if you might have noticed something that they're missing with the advertising of the property, be very sure that you don't do anything to offend them. You don't want to come across as being over the top and quite forceful, because they will then be very standoffish. They will push right back and say, well, hang on a minute, how dare you tell me how to advertise my property? They won't take that in a very good way. So really do think about how you approach those that are convinced, because they are the ones that they know they need to make a decision, but if we push ourselves too much onto them, they tend to push you back very quickly and not be really open then to listening to what you have to offer and how you can actually help them. However, the same thing across all 3 is that they all need to have strong follow-up. So at the end of the day, when it comes to the end of the listing appointment, there's 2 things that can happen. The first one, which is the ultimate goal, is that we sign the business on the spot. That would be fantastic. And that's obviously the ultimate goal, to be able to walk away knowing that we've secured that client and we're going to the next stage. If we're unable to do that on the day, it's to find out when we're going to speak with them next. Know when that next point of conversation is going to happen, whether it be the next day that you follow them up, the next week or the next month, or even in 6 months' time if the property's not quite ready now and there's a set date that they know that they need to speak with you again. Do make sure that you know when that next conversation point is. If you leave not knowing when you're going to speak with them next, I can guarantee you they've already mentally made a decision that they're going to choose somebody else, or they're not happy with what you've had to offer and you haven't answered the questions that they've needed. So do make sure that you don't hold it back, don't let the fear take over. Make sure that you ask those open questions and find out when the next point of conversation will be. I hope you enjoyed our June edition, and I'm looking forward to bringing you the second half of the year, and hope you have a fantastic day.